testing and find the asymptomatic. Yeah. So here we just don't know, right? The numbers are just too small, but they're tiny numbers of people we're testing. That also is surprising to me. Again, you compare, and sure, you have bigger countries here, but if you actually were to look at the number clustered, the number of cases, they're not, the Auckland is the same size as Hawaii, all the islands of Hawaii, and almost the same size as Oahu is almost the same size as Auckland. So you can compare it closely enough. So these are really concerning to me. And then let me take you to the patterns. So what I've noticed is, and this isn't my intuition, but what happens is it gets, these are the blue are the negatives and the yellow are the positives. We should obviously modify this a bit so you can see the yellow more clearly. And you notice, you might be coming along here and go, oh, our positives are dipping. Well, it's because our tests have dipped. So you can see the direct correlation right there. Same thing here, a little bit of a dip, a little bit of a dip. So the dips in our positive are tied to the number of tests we're doing. So let's just take that off the table. Like, oh, we're optimistic we've turned a corner. Like we turned a corner a while back and it was a bad corner to turn. And so what I think happens, and if you look at cases all around the world, you have a low number of cases, and then it starts to get out into the community and you have community spread where it pops up. This is a 7-day average, which again, the numbers are small, so it's not that accurate, but you can sort of see that it's simmering along. It went up here because the tests went up. So, again, the number of tests throwing off these numbers, this would be more of a smooth line if you didn't have this peak right here. But what I think happens is it simmers and gets out in the community, and it's out there with asymptomatic folks, with people that have it that aren't too bad. And then suddenly one of those people attends or participates in a super spreader event. And then you're in big trouble. So, the person in the flight attendant, had COVID probably for a week or two by the time that they were symptomatic. We now know that generally you're most contagious 3 days before and 3 days after. And he attended a training session where people are getting up close without masks and basically gave it to a high percentage of the people at that meeting. Same thing if you have somebody attending a funeral in Oahu, or a group of people living together closely in a household. Once that group is infected, then pretty much almost everybody gets it. A flight from Kuwait to Qatar, I think 91 people, 12 people got it on the flight. So it's a 3-hour flight, 12 people out of 91 get it. So it's super contagious. So what happens is it gets out in the community, and if I get it, I'm in my small little bubble with my family, no one's really noticing it. But as soon as I attend an event or I'm living in a larger family, all of a sudden everybody gets it. And that's what I think is happening in Oahu. That's why we hear about it being in the Micronesian, in the Pacific Islander communities. They live in a more communal way. Once it gets in their community, it just explodes. And so you have to be really attuned to this early phase right here and not be optimistic, but be paranoid. Like, okay, it looks like it's getting in here. We got to get on it before it hits a couple super spreader events. And if you have, that's where you get exponential growth and not logistical growth. And exponential growth is a real problem. It overloads everything almost immediately. Same thing in the Big Island. It's simmering right here. Here it simmered and then it kind of dropped down, but the numbers were tiny. It's hard to draw too much of a conclusion. And then it's simmering, and now it's going up. And you can see we're so behind on reporting our testing data.